Welcome to Short Movie Channel. The movie begins with a woman named Julia, who is in an interrogation room. The investigator asks her about her connection to the body of her ex-husband, Michael, which was found at her house. He shows her pictures of him on his phone, along with a piece of his clothing, and tells her that he knows Michael was abusing her, and that she had received psychological treatment because of it. She had even filed a report against him. The investigator asks if she killed him, but Julia is shocked and unable to speak. She starts telling her story from the beginning. Julia remembers when her coworkers threw her a farewell party because she was leaving her job to live with her boyfriend. At that time, she tells her friend that she's worried and afraid of entering a new relationship after what happened with her ex-husband, Michael. However, her friend reassures her and gives her a gift. Julia gets in her car, excited, and drives off. When she arrives, she meets Terry, David's ex-wife, and their daughter Layla. Terry tells her she wishes her a happy life and gives her something from Layla because she will be living with her dad. After saying goodbye, Terry leaves. Julia tries to get closer to Layla, but Layla pushes her away. The next day, Layla goes to school, and Julia stays alone in the house. She notices the restraining order she had filed against her ex-husband and remembers how he used to hit her and treat her badly. Her thoughts are interrupted by a call from David, who tells her he will be late at work and that she should have dinner with Layla. After ending the call, Julia begins preparing food. Terry then arrives and hands her Layla's ballet shoes that she forgot, and she asks her to invite her daughter for dinner. Julia reluctantly invites her, but Layla doesn't like the food and asks her mom to cook instead. Afterward, Terry puts Layla to bed and thanks Julia for allowing her to spend time with her daughter. She says goodbye and leaves. At night, Julia feels scared after hearing something in the kitchen. She starts having hallucinations from the trauma of her abusive ex-husband. But David arrives just in time to calm her down, reassuring her that she is safe with him and that she will get used to her life with him and be a good mom. Julia starts adjusting to her new life. One day, while walking down the street, Julia notices a dress she likes and tries it on. The store owner tells her it looks beautiful on her, but when she learns Julia is David's girlfriend, she tells her it's reserved. Julia's mood sours, especially when she sees an old scar on her shoulder from her ex-husband. Later, she and David go to a party for Layla at her school, where Terry is also present. When Terry notices that Layla has started bonding with Julia and treating her kindly, she feels jealous. At night, Julia stays up late with David and sees Terry wearing the dress she had liked earlier. Julia feels even worse, but tells herself it's just a coincidence. She gets up to dance with David while Terry reads a message on Julia's phone from her friend, telling her that she'll be the most beautiful bride. Terry gets angry, and when Julia goes to search for her phone, she can't find it. David tells her to look for it in the car, but she still doesn't find it. It turns out the phone is with Terry, who manages to open it and views everything on it, eventually finding a photo of the restraining order that Julia filed against her ex-husband. She decides that she will bring him back into her life. The next day, she goes to David and asks him how he met Julia. She tries to shake their trust in each other and apologizes for their separation, but he tells her that he loves Julia now. She gets extremely angry, storms out, and on her way, throws Julia's phone into David's car. He finds it and returns it to Julia. After that, she receives a call from an unknown number and fears it might be her ex-husband, but no one answers. Later, Layla is with her mother and is upset because Julia isn't paying attention to her. Tara is shocked when Layla tells her that she doesn't remember any happy memories with her and her father. They then go to her grandmother Olivia, who tells her that her father decided to marry Julia. Olivia asks her how she feels about it, and Layla says that she's happy, which makes her mother feel extremely frustrated. Olivia then asks her daughter why she separated from David when their lives were going so well. Terry decides to share it with everyone. Terry reflects on her life with David and realizes that it was perfect. She asks Julia to forget about her past and focus on her new life. Terry says she'll work on forgetting and watches a video of her wedding with David, crying and feeling broken because she still loves him. Later that night, David invites his friend and his wife to their house. The friend's wife talks to Julia, sharing stories about David and Terry's relationship, mentioning how they always fought, and that if Terry hadn't been pregnant, they would have divorced a long time ago. Julia then receives a call from the same unknown number, but she doesn't answer. At the same time, we see Tara opening a website where she can contact anyone without revealing their name or number. She creates a fake email with Julia's name and picture, and it's clear that she has plans. The next day, Julia is in the bathroom when an unknown person enters her house, stealing a piece of her clothing, a watch, and a ring. When Julia hears a sound, she exits and opens the door to find someone left her flowers. Tara appears, getting out of the car, and Julia asks why she's coming to her house without permission. Tara tells her there's a letter for David sent to her address, hands it over, and leaves. Julia tries to figure out where the flowers came from, but she can't, and she gets anxious. She calls her friend and tells her about the strange calls she's been receiving and the flowers. She says she's scared that her ex-husband might be behind it, but her friend reassures her, saying Michael doesn't know her location or number, and advises her to tell him everything so he can protect her. Night falls, and we discover Tara is talking to Michael, pretending to be Julia, telling him that she misses him and wants to get back together. She also sends him pictures of Julia that she took from her phone. Naturally, Michael believes her. At the same time, Julia is frustrated because she can't find her ring, which is lost. She decides to take a photo with her friend because she's tired of being alone all day. The next day, she meets Tara by chance and apologizes for her behavior. Tara forgives her and invites her to lunch. At the restaurant, Tara tells Julia that she was afraid of being a bad stepmother but turned out to be a nice person, and her daughter liked her. Julia says she was also impressed because Tara turned out to be a good person too. Tara asks to see the engagement ring, but Julia says it's being cleaned. Tara leaves, and later that night, it's revealed that Tara is the one who stole the ring and also the clothes from Julia's house. She starts putting them in a box to execute her plan. Later, Julia goes to the market with Layla, and she gets another call from the same unknown number. This time, she gets angry, answers the call, and starts yelling. Suddenly, Layla disappears from her side. Julia searches for her, terrified, and she sees a person who looks like her ex-husband, though she's not sure if it's real or just her imagination. She goes to David and tells him that she can't find their daughter. He calls security, and they start searching for her. Oddly enough, Tara appears with her daughter, saying she found her standing with a strange man. The man says he knows Julia, and Tara tells David that it's obviously Julia's negligence, and that it shouldn't happen again. When Julia returns home, David confronts her, asking about the man their daughter was with, the missing ring, and the flowers that were left at the house. Julia defends herself, saying she doesn't know the man, that she lost the ring while in the bathroom, and that the flowers must have been a mistake. David scolds her for making Tara afraid for their daughter and taking her home, telling her to be more careful from now on. He leaves angrily. The next day, Tara teaches her daughter to ride a horse, but the girl is scared. When Julia arrives and notices this, she tells Tara that Layla is not ready yet. Tara responds that Julia shouldn't interfere with her relationship with her daughter. Layla then gets off the horse, and Julia takes her to David. While they're in the car, Julia asks Layla about the man she was talking to at the market, but Layla insists she wasn't with anyone. Julia realizes Tara was lying to cause trouble between her and David. At home, Julia tells David what happened, but he's not paying attention because he's searching for Shahid and can't find her. He later takes Julia to dinner with his work friends. Julia drinks a lot and starts to hallucinate, imagining Tara sitting with David. At the same time, Tara emails Michael, pretending to be Julia again, telling him she still loves him and wants to see him. The next day, Tara punishes her daughter for not listening to her, cutting her hair that she loves while the girl cries. Meanwhile, Julia receives an email from Michael, telling her he misses her and sending them a picture together. Julia gets angry, shuts the laptop, and sends a message to David, asking him to come home immediately. At that moment, the house bell rings. When Julia opens the door, she finds Tarek and his daughter, and Layla runs straight to her room. Then Tarek follows her to teach her how to leave without saying goodbye, but Julia stops her and tells her that she can't treat the girl that way. When Tarek hears the sound of David's car, she pretends that Julia is arguing with her and throws herself down the stairs. When David comes in, he finds Tarek lying on the floor, and she tells him that Julia is the one who pushed her. Julia tries to defend herself, and Layla comes down, worried about her mom and her dad, and David takes her and her mom to the doctor. Of course, Tarek is pleased that her plan succeeded, and she starts tending to the wound on her face from the fall. David talks to Julia and confronts her about what she did, but she tells him that she's innocent, that she fell on her own, and that she's trying to ruin their life. She tells him that she had previously told her that they went to a specialist to get back together and stay with Layla. However, David denies this, saying it never happened and that Tarek is imagining things that didn't happen. He tells her that he separated from her because it was the best thing for his daughter, and confirms that he no longer thinks about her, and that he loves Julia, and that no one else is in his life. Then David leaves for work, and Julia calls her friend, asking her to come over urgently. She comes and listens to Julia tell her everything about Tarek. They start looking through her records and discover that when she was younger, she had set fire to her parents' house, which is why she went to see a psychiatrist. She has been receiving treatment for a disorder. Her friend gets worried and asks her to leave immediately, but Julia says that she needs to tell everything and warn them about Tarek because she is dangerous and might hurt his daughter. After her friend leaves, Julia is sitting alone when she hears a sound and thinks it's her husband. She goes to check the source of the noise and finds her ex-husband, Michael, standing in front of her. At first, she thinks she's imagining it, but then he gets closer and grabs her by the arms, saying that he finally sees her in real life and that he missed her. Julia is terrified and asks him to stay away and tries to call the police. Michael is surprised by her reaction, throws her phone from her hand, grabs her by the hair, and asks her why she sent him her address and wanted to meet if she didn't want to see him. It's then that Julia realizes that Tarek was the one who contacted him. Julia grabs a knife, stabs him in the leg, and rushes outside to her car to escape. Tarek is outside taking pictures of her with a camera, and goes inside the house wearing gloves. She finds Michael lying on the floor and realizes that she was the one who called him. She kills him. Then we return to the present, and Julia finishes her statement at the investigation. She says that Tarek is the one who did it, but the investigator doesn't believe her because all the material evidence is against her. We see Tarek combing her hair, thinking she has won against Julia, and even wearing Julia's ring. David goes to Julia and tells her that he believes her, that he still loves her, and that he won't leave her. However, the investigator sits down with him and shows him pictures of her conversations with Michael. He finds messages where she tells him to sell the ring and give him the money. He also shows him her watch. David tells him that she really had lost him. David then goes to check on his daughter because he feels that she's in danger, but he reassures himself when he finds her sleeping. He notices Tarek lighting gloves and also sees that she is wearing Julia's ring, which makes him understand that she is behind all of this. He confronts her, and Tarek admits that she did all of this because she loves him and wants him back for herself and her daughter. But David tells her that she is sick and needs to be treated, and he leaves her. Tarek gets angry, follows him, and hits him on the head with a metal rod. At that time, Julia is leaving the station after the investigation, gets in her car, and rushes to catch up with David because she's sure he's in danger. When she arrives, she finds David lying on the ground unconscious. She tries to revive him, and he whispers for her to save their daughter. Julia runs to Layla's room, puts her in the car, and when she returns home, she finds a trap set for her. She tries to call the police, but Tarek stops her and attacks her. Julia is able to defend herself and strikes Tarek. She then goes to release David, but Tarek comes from behind and threatens Julia with a knife. When Tarek sees herself in the mirror with her face injured and disfigured, she loses control, breaks down, and grabs Julia's hand, stabbing herself with the knife to die and end her life. She asks Julia to protect her daughter and let her live a normal life. Julia goes to check on David, calls for an ambulance, and 6 months later, we see Julia and David after they got married and moved to New York, living a happy life with Layla. The movie ends, and if you liked it, please give us a like and subscribe to the channel.